In a Texas divorce, business interests are divided the same way anything else is. Remember, what you have to do is name it. So let's identify what is the business, figure out whether it was a community or separate property asset. So deciding, okay, can the court award it or not? And then a big place where things get hung up in valuing Texas businesses in a Texas divorce would be on the valuation. And in the valuation, that's where we're trying to figure out, okay, what's this thing worth? One party who wants to keep it may say, "Oh, it's not worth nothing. I don't care how much money I made. It's basically worth $0." And the other party is gonna be like, "Are you kidding me? On this personal financial statement, when you were trying to get a loan with the bank, you said the thing was worth $1 million. So which is it?" And if you're in that kind of a situation of a juggernaut, where you really just cannot agree on what the thing is worth, you may have to bring in a business valuation expert to figure it out so that the fourth step, ultimately the court can award the business. That's also where it can get a bit choppy, especially if it was formed during the marriage and you're both active in the business. What's the court supposed to do? And it sometimes can function a little bit the way selling a house would function. Like one of y'all may get it, or the other person may get it, or the court may order you to sell it and split the money. It just is pretty nuanced when it comes to a business of how the court's going to handle that. So you're going to want to make sure that you're working with experts and professionals and a legal team who understands how to address business assets in your Texas divorce. To value your business in a Texas divorce, you're more than likely going to need to retain a team of experts to help the finder of fact, the judge, or even the jury, depending on the situation, figure out what that thing is worth. Now, if assets are limited, you may rely on some basic rules of thumb that your lawyer knows or your own testimony to do that. But the more valuable the asset is, the more money you're going to be willing to spend to figure out what it's worth. That way, you can make an informed decision at mediation and what's best for you and your future, or help the judge make an informed decision on what that asset is worth when they're trying to figure out a just and right division of your estate. A question I get sometimes in a Texas divorce where business interests are involved is whether one spouse can buy out the other spouse. And a few things are at play here. First thing I would ask is, what does the company agreement say? So you have articles of incorporation and some documents that govern the behavior of your business. Does it allow for a buyout? Are there partners? Are there any limitations on the function of this business that say that can't happen? But let's just make it simple. Say that you are both co-owners and it's 50-50 and you just have some basic bylaws you bought off LegalZoom. Well, then maybe so, where one of them takes it and their interest is bought out or like through other assets within the estate. Like somehow if the person is taking the business and that thing is worth anything, you're going to have to be made whole on the other side. What's unlikely to happen is that a court would order you both to keep the business and both to continue working together after you're divorced. That is not a very viable solution. And in fact, even if parties want to do that, sometimes the court will be like, I don't know about this. So if you own a business and you're getting divorced in Texas, you're really going to want to think through whether you want to keep it, you want your spouse to keep it, and what you're willing to exchange to get what you want. In Austin, Texas, we deal with a lot of tech companies whenever people are getting divorced. And with tech companies often come stock or restricted stock units, RSUs. And dealing with those, honestly, is kind of hard. You have to get out spreadsheets and do a lot of math. And a bunch of us are lawyers because we don't super love math. So it depends on the complexity of the award letter with your particular stock. So the first thing you're going to want to do is dig out the award letter that talks about when the stocks vest, over what time, and then you'll need a legal team who understands how that plays out, especially because often when it comes to stock situations, there's a separate property component. Like you already worked at Google before you got married. Then you got married and you switched over to Adobe. So you've got Google separate property stock, Google community property stock, Adobe stock that is both community, but then it'll vest after the marriage. So it's like both community and separate. You see, even just explaining it, it automatically gets complicated through to companies. And tech people sometimes move a lot. So you may have multiple ones of those at play. But first thing you're going to want to do, get those award letters. Let's get that figured out. Give a copy to your lawyer. See if they're a level where you can work together to figure it out. Or you might find yourself in a situation, if enough money is at stake, that you need the help of a forensic accountant expert to come in and follow the money, because sometimes like what'll happen is you have to follow an individual stock and all of its permutations when they get bought and sold. And y'all, that gets complicated real fast, even when the expert's just explaining it to you, let alone figuring it out. Because in working in a Texas divorce, you're always going to be trying to figure out, when you're dealing with these like high net worth cases or when there's a lot of money at stake, like, is the juice worth the squeeze? Is it worth me spending this amount of money to go after this amount of money? Kathleen in our office at Hembree Bell in Austin, Texas, often talks about, do you want to spend $1 to get a dime? So you want to have a lawyer who's going to help you think like that. Do we want to spend $1 to get a dime? What we really want to do is spend a dime to get $1. And sometimes that may happen. You just got to know what you're looking for.